The only reason that is in any way offensive to you, TikTok girl, the only reason why you will get upset with me, the only reason why you want to talk about pair bonding, or you're upset with the data that comes out that says, women have a tougher time pair bonding or having happy marriages, depending on how we're going to term and what term you happen to use. They have a tougher time in marital happiness. There's a higher incidence of divorce. There's a higher incidence of antidepressants and drug use as a result of that. There are all kinds of detrimental effects for women who have higher body counts. But I'm not even talking about that at this point. I can show you the stats as I have already. I can show you the data for that. But that's not even what this is about. The reason why you're upset is because you think men and women are the same fucking animal. You think we're the same thing, and we are not the same thing. We have different mating strategies. Men innately have a sexual revulsion, and this is the human revulsion response. And I'm not saying, get away. I mean, there's an innate hesitancy to want to seeing a woman who is a loose chick, who is clearly a slut, who is the town bicycle. Everybody gets to ride her, right? There's clearly a revulsion or a hesitancy at the very least for the girl who gets around. Okay. That's number one. Number two is there's also a hesitancy, an innate hesitancy to want to get with a woman who has kids already from having got with another guy, as we showed with Kanye West here a minute ago. Imagine you're dating Kim Kardashian and you got to take care of Kanye's kids. Oh man. So, but there's a hesitancy to want to get with a single mommy. Now, that's the problem. That's a big problem for women right now. Yeah, so those are the two things, right? Okay. So one, men have a hesitancy to get with a loose, slutty woman, at least in turn, like men will fuck anything, right? We don't have the same attraction floor that women do. However, that doesn't mean there's a girl that we say, okay, well, she'd probably be fun in bed, but I'm certainly not going to marry that because she would never be faithful. I would never know that the kids are mine. Okay. That's the paternity instinct in men. We want to know the child is ours. We have built kingdoms. We have built dynasties. Empirical Emperor Ming of the Chinese dynastic Chinese emperors, all the way down to the tribal chieftain living in the Amazon rainforest, wants to know that the kids are his fucking kids. That's evolution. That's the animal. That's the machine. Three things have defined powerful men over the course of history. One, resources, money, access to farmland, whatever it is, whatever your resources are of that particular era. Number two, territory and being able to defend that territory. Having the land, having the area. I don't care if it's the city state of the world emperor or whatever, or it's the tribesmen in the rainforest. This is where the demarcation lines of you don't come through here. Native Americans, this is the Navajo over here, and this is the Cherokee over here, and this is the Washoe Indians over here. This is what the Sioux are over here. There's those tribal delineations for those territories, right? That's number two. Number three, powerful men are always defined by having exclusive access to unlimited access to unlimited women, unlimited sexuality, to having your harem, however you choose to say it, in the forbidden city of China, right? In walled off or gated off somewhere in the Amazon rainforest or wherever it is. Powerful men have been defined by having exclusive access to virgins. That's why virginity is not a social construct. It's a practical evolutionary function of men's psychology. We want to know, that's why men value virgins. Not because we're like, oh, well, we have these societal standards and these double standards, and a woman has to be this virgin, and I can't understand why, because we're just blank slates anyways. How come men can't get over this societal, social constructed idea that, of virginity? No, Because the machine wants to know that the babies are our fucking babies. How hard is that? It's a curb this fucking high, and you can't get over that curb. That's it. It's not social constructionism. It's not like, oh, men have been taught this, or they're chauvinists, or they're misogynists, or patriarchy's taught them this. No, it hasn't. We're interested in paternity. It's all we've ever been interested in. That's why the king was looking for a male heir to carry on the male name. It's not because, oh, well, the political aspect goes along with that. There is a social aspect to it. But the root cause, the root purpose, the latent function of that is I want to know that the kid is my damn kid. That's why bastard sons weren't recognized. That's why when we had as an heir to the throne or whatever else, right? That's why there was no claim to certain dynasties. That's because that's why we even have the term bastard, right? You had sex that with this person it still may be your male heir, but that we're not recognizing that male heir because that's not part of the mechanics of what's going on. So when men are sexually hesitant or sexually revulsion of women who are sluts, it's because she's not a good bet for paternity. That's the difference. And when we don't care too much about quality, we're all about most men are about quantity, unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. But when we trade that off for parental investment in a monogamous relationship, because that's the strength of human, that's why we're the apex species. When we trade that, it is what's called an opportunity cost. Drew, TikTok girls, whatever. It's called opportunity cost. I could be getting with so many chicks and breeding like a fucking rabbit, but you know what? I'm going to forsake all others till death do us part, in sickness and in health, for richer and for poor, and I'm going to stay with you. That's my arrangement. I love you. I have such an affinity for you, and I want to be invested in all this, and so much so that I'm going to give up any future access, any potential I might have to get with unlimited access to unlimited sexuality and like spread my wild oats. I'm going to stop that because you're worth it, baby. And I'm going to put my name on this contract because you're actually worth it. There's only one stipulation. The kid has to be my fucking kid. That's all I'm asking. Don't cuckold me. That's all I'm asking you to do. Right? And women can't even do that because they want to be equal. Well, how come I can't fuck a lot of girls? How come you sold your wild oats already? How come I can't do that? Because you're a bad bet for my paternity. That's why. Not because patriarchy taught me, not because mommy didn't love me enough. No, it's because that's the way we evolved. That's the machine. I don't know how to make this any more simple for your sophomoric, like adolescent social skill set. I don't know how to make it any more simple than that because that's what it comes down to. Yes, I've seen these videos of these women who are talking about like, oh, well, virginity is just a social construct of the patriarchy. And I'm going to teach my daughters that there's no such thing as virginity. Well, there's the social understanding of what virginity is. And then there's the latent function and purpose of it. And that actually does exist. You are of a lesser value if the kid isn't mine, or I can't have those psychological, subconscious, and to completely acknowledged certainties, insurances that you're a good bet for my paternity. That's why guys have an innate hesitancy to get with single mommies, ladies. So when you have that baby, Michaela, when you have that baby, Brittany, when you have that baby, whoever, that is a distinct disadvantage for you in the global sexual marketplace. And so we know that men are innately like have that sexual hesitancy, that reproductive hesitancy to get with those women. Okay. So how can we convince men not to do that? Well, there's two tacts. The first tact is what she's doing right here. Shame men. Because from the perspective of men and women are equal, men and women are the same machine. We're the same animal. We're exactly the same. We just have different We just have different plumbing, and it's society and it's social constructionism. It's the blank slate. And all of this is teaching men this bad data. And if we could just reprogram those guys to not think of us as sluts because we have a 20 plus notch count, if we can just do that, and we can just convince men it's their problem because they learn bad information, they have bad software. If we can just convince them and reprogram them, then perhaps they would go and get with us because it helps us facilitate our mating strategy. And women's mating strategy today is to maximize the years between 18 and 28 years old. The part, your hoe phase, not my words, your words. So from 18 to 28, you're at your peak sexual selection, and you've got to find the guy that you can consolidate on for long-term security before you get to 29, 30, 31. And you know what? Even if you don't get there, there's all kinds of social conventions to make you think, ladies, that you got way more time and your sexuality and your sexual agency is evergreen. 21, not 41. Right? But we got to convince them. We got to convince men we have to program men. We have to make the software override the firmware. And the software says this: you're an insecure guy if you have a problem with a woman's sexual past. You're an insecure male. There's something wrong with you, mommy. Who hurt you? Mommy didn't love you enough. What's wrong? Where'd you learn that? I bet you had an overbearing father. I'm going to play Dr. Freud and I'm going to psychoanalyze you, which, by the way, is a fucking most annoying aspect of this too long didn't read generation, by the way. I'll return to that here in a second. But so now the software is trying to reprogram the male firmware. The male firmware says this: she's a bad bet for paternity. The male firmware says she's already bred with another dude, and she wants me to give up my resources and my opportunity, my opportunity costs, my resources, my territory, any kind of future success I have to raise the child of another man. That is not my DNA. It goes against my primary directive, my primary firmware as a human male that evolved over the course of 100,000 years and successfully because we had that revulsion, because we had that hesitancy to get with a woman who had already clearly had sex with another guy and already had his hits. That's why we have social conventions, even religious or social right now, or we want to turn single fathers or, it's stepdaddy season, right? It's just stepdaddy season. Where'd she go? Here she is.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah. That right, that we turned it into a fucking science. We've turned it into a book. Brittany Renner marketed a book on exactly this plan, exactly what's going on right now. Convince guys to get over that sexual hesitancy. Convince beta males to think that their duty, and gaslight them, yes, but to think that it's their loyal, masculine, honorable, God-expected duty to take care of the single mom. To take care, to forestall and to reprogram the evolutionary firmware that says, don't get with the trollop. Get ye not with the whore, right? Well, that sounds like very self-righteous and very repressive and very patriarchal, but it had a function. Don't get with a hooker. Value virginity. Why? Why would that be valuable? Because the kid is yours. That's why. It's not hard. This is not rocket science, ladies. But we want to create, and it's never been easier in the 21st century on social media to create this idea that men are insecure, old fuckers with a necklace on who don't know anything because they don't have any fucking, they're not cool like we are. But I do know well enough that human nature is for men, they don't want to get with a hooker. They don't want to marry her. They might want to bang her. Sure. That's why pornography is such a big deal. He's like, it's unlimited access to unlimited sexuality and there's no strings attached. Never has a headache. Porn never has a headache. Yes, that right there is proof of concept. What else is there? So yeah. So what happens is this, is you got this sexual revulsion. Women are trying to, of course, reprogram guys into thinking that they're unevolved or they're Neanderthals, right? Or they're chauvinistic 1950s throwbacks or what? Name the self-righteous bull. They're religious or self-righteous tradcon bullshit. Oh, women are women today. We don't need men. We want them. Repeat that lie enough times and people start to believe it, including the guys. The guys will go, yeah, well, I married a single mom, but I'm not a stepdad. I'm the dad who stepped up. At least that's what she tells me. No, you've basically negated and erased your biological imperative. You had to get you. It's almost like if this is gonna really piss off some guys. If you are a stepdad, if you willingly, knowingly walked in to a situation where you married a single mom, you are completing the biological imperatives of another man and the woman who you're getting with, by the way, because you are taking over the responsibilities of parental investment on both parties, by the way, not just the man, on the woman as well, because you're using your resources and your talents and everything else that could have been directed towards a woman who was going to bear your actual DNA. You've essentially overwritten 100,000 years of, or whatever it is, of evolution that says, don't fucking do this because you need to pass your genes on to the next generation. That's what it comes down to. But society and memes, memetics, right? The ideas. If we say, oh, well, how can we convince these guys to get over that hump? How do we convince guys that, there's an awful lot of us women, as we've gained more power, as we become more emancipated, as we've become more like the men we want to marry and we can't find anybody, that means we still want to have babies, but we don't have babies with those guys. We just want to have Eva Mendes still wants to get with, I hope it's Ryan Gosling, wants to get with the guy whose babies she wants to have. Like, I want his babies. I want them to look like him. Right? Those guys are in limited supply, but there's no shortage of 80% are beta males. But sometimes maybe their attention and support is what a woman needs because she couldn't consolidate on a Ryan Gosling. Right.